in the name of personal injury law.
We frequently hear about senior citizens being the victims of scam and fraud. There's so many bad people out there that know how to be sneaky and trick senior citizens. So today we're talking with Steve Sinas, an attorney at the Sinas Law Firm, to help provide some guidance to not only senior citizens to protect themselves from fraud, but also their family members who might want to help protect their loved ones. And with Steve, he has a special guest, Steve Whalen, who is a police officer and has his own special, unique experience with a senior citizen fraud.
Yes. Thank you very much for having us. It's really good to be here. Our firm decided to bring more awareness to this issue because it seems to be increasing in terms of the ways in which seniors can be defrauded. There's so many ways with technology, whether through emails and phone calls, just deceptive things that can happen out of nowhere where a senior might be trusting somebody, but yet that person is just all out stealing from them. And so we want to bring more awareness to this issue, and we have Officer Whalen with us to help us with some pointers and guidance, but he's going to start with his own experience. So why don't you tell us what happened to your father?
I had investigated a lot of different frauds over the years, and when my dad was about late 80s, he had gotten a phone call, and someone said that they had kidnapped my oldest nephew, which is his grandson. My dad was terrified. He was told to go buy green dot cards and buy these cards and then give them, these people, this number. So my dad didn't know anything about how to do that. He went down and pulled $10,000 out of the bank, went to a local store to do that, and that clerk stopped my dad from buying that. So my sister ended up getting a hold of my dad, went and picked him up, but my dad was so distraught. It was 3 to 4 hours of him driving around to try to figure this out, and he was convinced that his oldest grandson would be hurt or devastated by this situation. So my dad was so terrified that it caused him to lose confidence, and he really never drove again, and he died a few years later.
Oh, that's so sad. Did the clerk alert the authorities, or did the clerk basically instruct your father to go talk to your family members?
That's exactly, he did.
Yeah.
He encouraged my dad to call my sister.
Okay.
And there's so many instances I'm aware of where the family member does come in and basically save the day, and it's not the senior's fault. It's just they don't see it, and so it's someone else recognizing it.
Well, and they're in panic mode, right. At that
Right.
point. So what other types of fraud and scams have you seen?
There's so many different frauds. A lot of them start on the phone, where someone will say they're the person's bank, they're the person's credit card, and it will cause the person to start giving out their own information, like their credit card information, like their social security card numbers. It's very easy to defraud a phone number where you call and that person will think that is the police department or that is their bank, where there's so many different people that can do terrible things, and the person was just basically being trusting, thinking that they had a problem, and this person is actually stealing from them.
So if you get a call out of nowhere and someone's asking for your confidential information or your financial information, maybe the best thing is to verify that is absolutely the company that says who they are, or not even trust the call that comes in like that?
I would never trust anyone that's calling you, asking you for that kind of information. If it's your bank, you can go down to your bank. If it's the Social Security agency will not ever ask for someone's information like that. So the hard part is you really don't want to trust anybody. But if you do get a call like that, if you hang up, call a loved one, if you actually contact that person yourself, then that number will be more realistic. There's so many different ways through a computer screen saying that there's something wrong with your computer. All we need is your credit card number and we'll fix your computer. And then there's even ways for someone to get inside their computer and then defraud them in terrible ways. So this doesn't just happen to seniors, but I think seniors are a little bit more vulnerable. And it's just, I've seen it in so many cases, and sometimes significant amounts of money, of hundreds of thousands of dollars, that people have been defrauded.
So are these people who are committing these scams and frauds, especially against senior citizens, are they being criminally prosecuted?
That's the difficult part, is there is people that can investigate these situations. Oftentimes, I know in my experience, the leads have kind of gone dry. Either it's someone overseas or someone that has encrypted their information in very difficult ways. So they are hard to find. We have been able to find a few people and track them down through our different IT departments and everything. It's just a very difficult time to solve.
Does it usually involve not local authorities, but maybe like the federal authorities?
So, right. So we do encourage people to contact the FBI or the Secret Service if there's a situation with higher level issues. I think the fraud a lot of times happens even on the very small level, where somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I'll mow your grass. Give me $50." The person takes the $50 and they don't mow your grass. So I think it can be a very small issues, or it can be a bigger issue on the phone. The challenge is I think we're in a day where we need to be careful to not trust people just because they contacted us.
So, Steve Sinas, are there civil claims that a senior could pursue if they've been defrauded in some sort of scam?
It's very similar to what Officer Whalen just said on the criminal side. So with the law, you have the criminal law where you have prosecutions for crimes, people go to jail. On the civil side, you have claims where you can pursue money damages and other remedies against people who somehow wronged you. And so if somebody has defrauded you or somehow stolen from you, perhaps there is a civil claim that you could bring, but you're going to have the same problems of identifying that person, serving them with a lawsuit, and actually having them be subject to the litigation because perhaps it took place from another country or another state or whatever it may be. So it's just as hard on the civil side. And in that sense, we're just trying to bring awareness to this issue because it is the deceptive call out of nowhere that can change a senior citizen's life in terms of, losing their money. I have a friend in the area, and his dad was just subject to a very extensive fraud where lost, 6 figures in terms of trusting somebody who said that they were a financial advisor who wasn't. So there's some serious issues out here. There's
some things you can do. If you feel like you've been defrauded, you can call your local police department to get a police report number and have an investigation begin. It can be a situation where we know that person, that they've possibly been in the home and that person's been a trusted person. So I think it's really important to report this out if there's a situation. And also, if you ever have any kind of thing like this happen, call the credit bureaus to put a fraud alert on your credit rating.
Is there some sort of hotline, or if a senior citizen calls, will the police station help give advice to kind of guide them if they really don't know what to do?
So they won't give financial advice, but I think a police officer can come out or you can go to the police department and at least assess the situation.
Now, I understand you also maybe teach some classes on this. So there's local community things where seniors can go learn about how to protect themselves, right?
I have given some seminars in churches in the area, and that has been really well received. Just talking about the issue, I think, helps to resolve it for some people.
The thing I'll say is that it never hurts to verify, right? So if somebody calls you and is asking for information you're not sure, or if you have some notice in your computer, or some email says you have to do something, think to yourself, well, what are they saying they represent? And let me verify. Let me call the company's main line. Let me ask somebody from the company, did you actually send this to me? Verification never hurts. Trusting without verifying does.
Right. So, and I think also not just calling the police, but if you have a family member you trust, right?
Yes.
There might be people in your life that
Don't
you know will...
Don't be embarrassed.
Right.
Tell your family member, say, I think something might have happened. Can you help me?
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for these helpful tips.
Thanks for having us.
Steve Whalen and Steve Sinas.
Thanks for having us.
In the Name of Personal Injury Law is brought to you by the Sinas Dramus Law Firm.